Hey, this is Tom Calvin. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
During a trip through time, the Legends were forced to land the Waverider in Blue Valley, Nebraska, where they discovered a young superhero.
Yes.
About to take flight.
That's cool.
Who are you?
I'm Stargirl.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. We are still hanging in Blue Valley as we have nowhere else to go while this mystery is afoot. Well, at least I can't go anywhere as I'm bringing the show to you from the Blue Valley prison, and X-Force and Harley are just visiting me right now, which I find funny because I think one of them is blackmailing me to take the fall for something that I didn't do. Harley. Anyways, we are here for Chapter 3 of Stargirl, the Blackmail, and I am the incarcerated Flash this week.
And I'm the innocent Harley Quinn.
I'm sure that the Yellow Lantern framed me for this, not you. I'm X-Force 11.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
Oh, and Gideon came to say hi, too. Wait,
Nice.
Did you guys bring her, like, on a little portable box or something? Is that
100%. Yes, Gideon is always with me.
good? Good stuff. All right, X-Force, you got just a small reminder for us in the news today.
Yeah, so please keep an eye on our Facebook group and please join it. If you have not already, just go search out our Tomorrow's Legends under the groups and answer the questions and we'll let you in. But I've added some photos from the filming of Superman and Lois Season 3. There is some on-set photos with our new Jonathan and the new Superman suit. So it's exciting that they're out there filming and getting started. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, very, very cool. And there was a little bit of chatter on there. I know I was talking with a couple of guys about Superman's cape and the look of the suit. Mm-hmm. We were debating who likes the cape or not. It's kind of funny, but I think it looks cool. I like the color scheme. I like the darker blue, and I think Tyler just looks great in the suit.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the raised emblem as opposed to looking like it was screen printed on the suit. I like the raised emblem, so it stands out more. So when you look at the side profile, you can really see it's there. So I like that aspect of it. That's the thing. I thought it was a little cheesy when it was just flat. So I like the raised emblem, the House of L emblem. So
What, you mean like his mom made it for him?
And then I added in, just for contrast, I added in the original Christopher Reeves Superman. I threw a picture there, and it's so funny because he's just in a spandex suit, and those red underwear on the outside, man. But I mean, it's so classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. So.
Christopher Reeves, he's still arguably the best Superman because he's the first. I mean, his face is the one I first think of when someone says Superman. I picture his face and nobody else's. So
yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tyler does look good in the suit, though. I will say.
Tyler, yeah. Oh, he does. Yeah. He's fast become my favorite overall Superman. So
yeah,
it's just,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Reeve's just he's the original, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
He's hard to beat.
I equate it to like Doctor Who. Like you have your first Doctor, the one that like made that impression on you.
Yeah.
But you enjoy aspects of the different actors that have played the Doctor. You know, and you like some a little bit more than others. Like, you know, Tom Baker was my Doctor. He was the one that I first saw.
Was he the one with the big puffy
hair and the scarf? Yes,
and the scarf.
Yeah,
I knew him too. Yeah, he was 70s and 80s.
Yeah, so he was the first. But like I said, yeah, Reeve will always be there, just like Keaton's Batman. You know, will always be there. But then you have your appreciation of what each actor brings to it, and you may like some better than others. But yeah, Tyler's become a fast favorite. So,
except the most recent one, I don't have any appreciation for that guy.
Henry Cavill?
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, you're talking about Batman. I still haven't seen that.
I enjoyed the movie, but like I need to see more to make a judgment. Like I need to like it was one movie, and I've seen it a couple times. I enjoy it, but like, it's early on in his career. It's like that kind of, as Batman, it's like Batman Year 2. So I want to see more before I make an overall judgment. So
okay, fair enough.
So,
well, circling back to what you first started with here about our Facebook group, I just wanted to remind people that if we have a lot of new listeners or people that are coming to the show for some reason because of Stargirl or Superman Lois, because we started this as a Legends podcast, but it's now just Stargirl and Superman. So if you guys are finding us because of that, we do have the Facebook group, but you have to answer the questions like X-Force reminded you of, because we won't accept you in. Answering the questions tells us that you're not a bot. It tells us that you're not just someone joining every single group out there and then you can start spamming us.
Right.
You have to answer those questions to be let in, and that's just a precaution, because we don't want mess in our group. It's a nice family in there. It's a good community, and there's a lot of fun. So if you guys aren't on there yet, we're always posting news. A lot of our listeners are beating us to the punch, and they're posting any tidbits that are coming out and stuff, and it's just fun. There's a lot of good discussions in there for sure. So make sure you do that. And that is it. Let's move on to our ratings of the show.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right, so I gave this one 8 costumes don't make the man. So I really enjoyed the fight sequence in this episode. It showed the skills that Starman has and the powers of Cosmo. And I love that each we're getting new twists and turns on the murder. Plus, we get the shadow reveal of the real killer. So that pushes my score up. But then I had to pull it back down to an 8 because of how they're handling Sylvester. Yes, I know this is a hero's journey tale for him, but that, and they have to tear him down to build him back up, because the Starman he is not what Courtney needs or the world needs. I'm just not convinced that it's the best way to do it or the most consistent way to do it. It kind of feels up and down. So that's why I had to bring it down to an 8. But I was really, really impressed, like I said, with the fight sequence because of the skills and abilities that we have never seen Courtney use because of all the years of experience that Starman has had. So I want to see that passed on. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So it's kind of a back and forth episode for me.
Well, he has to stop fighting without her so she can witness some of that stuff.
Yeah, true.
Very true. Well, I felt very similarly, so I gave this 8 character assassinations.
Ooh.
I do not love what they're doing with Starman. I'm not gonna lie. Is he supposed to be this dark and like borderline psychotic? Because he this is really not what I expected from Starman. Like, I wasn't, I guess, expecting exactly Captain America, but maybe like a little closer to Captain America, and we're definitely not getting that. So
yeah.
On the one hand, like, I appreciate how they're calling out the superhero trope, right? Because they tend to justify, because they're superheroes, just all sorts of violence, like this vigilante justice, just because bad guys are bad. So I like that they're kind of portraying this, that he can't get over what's happened to the JSA. And I think he's really blaming himself, but he just can't let go of the past and see that our former villains are trying to reform. So at this point, they're kind of almost painting Starman as the villain of the season, which has been really interesting. However, on the other hand, if they were going to assassinate his character, and if he ends up dead at the end of all of this, which I don't think he is, but if he is, like, what was the point of bringing him back? Like, why would you bring back a character like that is rich in lore just to make him be a jerk? Like, why?
Yeah.
So I really hope he's still alive and kind of able to redeem himself this season, because, like, otherwise, based on my, like, what's the point? Like, I just don't get it. So anyway, I'm holding out hope there. in other news, X-Force, I don't remember if you called this or Flash called this. I thought it was you, but anyway, that Cindy's just trying to prove herself to the team.
That was me.
That was you. Okay, sorry. I miscredited. So Flash called that. But wow, how did that backfire? That was interesting. That was almost as spectacularly bad as Starman attacking the Crocs in the grocery store. Like, not bad, like, narratively, but just like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, wow, that totally bombed on both fronts. They thought that was going to go great, and it just really did not.
Yeah.
Well, your point about Starman being like Captain America, I mean, if there's any character in the DC universe that should be similar to Captain America, it's Starman. I mean, red, white, and blue, Star-Spangled Banner, big white star on his chest. I mean, he's pretty much, they're almost the same character. So you would just expect them to have the same type of, you know, just devotion to
moral code,
the American way and moral code, everything like that's. So it's just, and that's probably why we're having such issue with them. Yeah, because I'm with you guys. I didn't go as high as an 8. I'm actually giving it only a 7. I told you so's. So this episode is only getting a 7 because of that fight sequence in the grocery store, because that was sheer fun awesomeness. It was amazing. Like you guys both said, the moves and the new powers and the battle, it was just well choreographed. Everything was just beautiful about that, except for one moment, and I'll get to that when we get talking about the Crocs. And it's also maybe because of my favorite scene, I might give it a 7, and maybe because of X-Force's favorite scene, now that I scanned through the notes. But the rest of this episode was actually kind of boring for me, and I say that because both me and Patty Spivot fell asleep during it. It wasn't keeping our attention, and we both nodded off. And then after the episode, she had no interest in watching to see what she missed. And then when I got to it the second time to catch what I missed, there was nothing that was making me feel like I did miss something. So it was kind of dull, and a lot of that to me is because it's getting pretty predictable. And the points that you guys brought up, or X-Force brought up, is that they pretty much gave away everything and just killed the whole usual suspects idea that they had going on. Why do we even care who it could be now, who the killer is? Just as I was saying, it's not anyone we know, so why keep trying to trick us with all the who could it be scenarios? I never bought it for a second from the beginning anyway. I knew it wasn't Cindy, I knew it wasn't the Crocs, I knew it wasn't anybody. I never bought into it. As I said, it's because it's already been predictable. But in this episode, again, we get the low rumbling growls. Now we see a leather glove and a hooded figure sitting there watching all these TV screens. Like, it made me think of the villain from Inspector Gadget.
Dr. Claw.
Dr. Claw. Yeah. Doesn't he have to sit and watch TVs and exactly like if they have a cat on the table, that's it. It's Dr. Claw. So we got the leather glove, we got the hooded figure, and from what I can tell, that whoever it is can obviously fly, because they lifted Sylvester up into the sky to beat him up. Or maybe it wasn't lift him up. He kind of got sucked up because he was just walking around the trailer and then he got pulled up like by a tractor beam or something. He just got grabbed. There was nothing physical that lifted him into the sky. So maybe we'll talk about that later in the notes. So anyway, my point is this whole whodunit idea is dead. And so much for the murder mystery. It's now done because they now showed us the reveal. I'm like 3 episodes in and you already got rid of that whole idea. So much for a Clue episode that we were hoping for and all that kind of stuff, right? So, I don't know. It just fell a little bit flat for me. And I'm also with you guys about Sylvester. I don't like what they're doing with him. It makes me not really like his character that much. And I'm not really enjoying the actor that much. He's not winning me over because he has no charisma. And it could just be what they're writing with him and why he is being a jerk, but he's not charismatic and I'm not enjoying him. Yes, it could be to break the hero down before he can rise again story, but I don't have a connection to Starman from anything before. I don't know him from the comics. I don't know him from anywhere other than being mentioned on the show or seeing him show up in Legends in that one episode of Legends when they went back in time. It's just, so my interest just isn't as involved as it could be and should be. That's where I am. A 7.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
Talking points. Let's go to those.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Where are we starting?
Well, I'm just going to kick it off with the gambler just because I kind of threw this out on a limb that we would see more of him, and we didn't. So it kind of seems like I was wrong. No gambler scenes. I was a little sad.
That's probably because it doesn't matter who killed him now, so that the whole whodunit aspect, like I was saying, is gone. So do we need to keep seeing flashbacks to build up that mystery of, oh no, who could it be? I don't think so. That might be the end of that.
It probably
I don't know.
is.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think we may see some, and especially when it's, talking about his daughter or something like that, or I don't know. But I still think we will. But
if his
maybe,
daughter comes into play,
right. Maybe not just every episode though.
Yeah. So I thought they would play it out a little bit longer, and they didn't.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is the JSA and friends or frenemies. So Courtney is at breakfast running through all the facts of the case, over breakfast that she's made for the family, and then the Crocks crash it with health food. So I thought this was kind of funny. Here she is, she's put in all this effort, and here they come and just wipe it all out with the healthy stuff. So,
yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, and I was wondering what she was up to. I was like, this seems suspicious. Nothing like breakfast with a side of murder, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Barbara complained about. I've had enough murder talk.
I know, whereas I'm like, let's keep going. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when the Crocs come in, this was absolutely hysterical, but it just makes me feel like maybe the Crocs are trying a little too hard to keep tabs on I think I said Dugan Whitmore's, but I think it's backwards, Whitmore Dugans. Anyways, you know what I mean. They're trying to keep track of the family under the guise of keeping them healthy. It just, at the very beginning of this episode, it felt a little suspicious, although I think we get more of their motivations by the end. But at this particular point, I was like, what is your ulterior motive?
Yeah, I think all of them have ulterior motives to be involved and be close to them. So
yeah, it's just what is it? I think everybody has something different, whether it's good or for nefarious reasons. I think they do all have something different. But for me with the Crocs, I still actually think they're trying to reform and be decent people. I mean, we definitely see that with Paula, and I know we'll talk about them a little bit here, but when she goes to her club meeting and Barbara shows up, and you just see Paula, how genuinely happy and more calm she is, because she's really nervous about being up there. And it's just like, she looks at Barbara as a friend, and that helped her out, and she's really trying. And I think it's just that they're really pushy. They're over-the-top achievers. That's their type of personality, and I think that because they're like that, even when they're trying to prove themselves, hey, we're trying to be good, they just go way overboard about it. And it makes you suspicious, but I don't think there actually is anything to be suspicious about. That's just the way they are. They're overachievers, and it affects every aspect of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, true. I mean, I could be wrong. They could be the first ones to snap still. I still believe one of these bad guy groups is going to snap, and it could be them. But I don't know. My feeling right now is that they really are actually trying, just based on how Paula is really, sticking to Barbara's hips there. She that's her one new best friend, and that scene at the podium, it just made, as soon as Barbara walked in, she's like, wow, now I feel good and I can get on with this. So that to me really sunk it in.
I love their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think by the end of the episode, it's made clear that they were honestly trying to figure out if they'd figured out about the blackmail.
Yeah.
It's good.
So Beth's parents are still working hard to support her, and
y'all, his note said they're being annoying.
Right, I was getting
wrong.
to that. But they're being annoying to her. And then you just contrast that, because Rick is like, basically you should appreciate that because they're trying to be in your life. And she asks about his Uncle Matt, and we find out that his uncle is gone. So basically, he's got, no parental guidance. Nobody's looking out after him. It's just him. Now, granted, he's probably 17 going on 18, so it's not much of an issue, but still, it gives us insight to what he's thinking about, and he's having to be, in charge of stuff and his uncle's not there. So it just puts a new spin on things and thinking about things. And of course, after last season, maybe for the best that his uncle's not around.
Which makes me wonder, like, how is he paying rent? Does he own the house? Is he got a job? Like, there's a lot of Rick we haven't seen yet, because how is he buying food for himself? All that kind of stuff. Yeah,
food I don't know about, because I assume that his uncle was just living in the house that was his parents. So I mean, I'm assuming that may be paid off.
So it's Rick's
and
house,
maybe he's getting some residuals from his dad's, work or whatever. But who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they both died, so maybe they left him something and he's okay for now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think those are all good questions about Rick, and I'd like some of that more fleshed out. Like, I mean, I definitely don't think his uncle was looking out for him in any way, because he clearly didn't care about his well-being, but he was an adult, and he probably, I assume, was the one paying the bills. So I don't know, like, I don't know if they'll give us that information, but I am definitely curious about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, along with Beth, like, it's nice to see the shift with her parents finally appreciating her. They're being involved, not only with each other, which was a pleasant change, but also really involved in her life. But I'm with you. They're being so totally over the top. So I'm kind of ready for them to maybe just dial it down a notch, not be like so overbearing, but in a completely different way. But I did appreciate the dichotomy, because that's exactly how Beth was with the two of them in the earlier season. So I did like that. But I'm also surprised that Beth is sharing as many details with them as she is. Like, they know everything, and I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah.
I thought that's the point I wanted to touch on here. I find it kind of weird that all the parents are involved in their kids' heroics. I don't know what about it is weird. Like, to me, it's giving it a non-realistic feel to this really Midwestern, beautiful little Leave It to Beaver town. Like, why their parents are so heavily involved. Maybe it's because they're only 15. I don't know. But I'm always basing it against Young Justice, and there was ever any adults involved. There's no parenting happening there. So I don't know. But I mean, because to me, I would figure instead of them being so over the top and trying to help her and make a new costume, and you should go do. I would think the parents of 15-year-old superheroes would be overprotective and not allowing them to be heroes, because they know the dangers out there with them only being kids. I mean, you're going to go fight crime in a dark alley. You're going to fight other characters with superpowers. Like, you might die. You might get severely hurt. Like, I would think parents would be against that. And that's why I mean this is a little unrealistic. Yes, it's a TV show about superheroes. I know, I get it. Shush. I'm just saying, it just gives me a weird feeling about that. I would like to see the parents, whether it's Barbara or Pat or Beth's parents or whatever, just someone saying, I don't think I'm comfortable with you going to fight that supervillain that's, like, destroying the town, because you're only 15.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why Yolanda's parents don't know, is because they would definitely, we've seen them act out and restrict her.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she's back working now, but, like, they've restricted her. So, like, if they knew, that she would be off the team.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of, we haven't seen her family since season 1. I don't know if we saw them last season much at all, but
we saw her mom last season, because her mom came to the church, I think. Yeah, so I think we saw her mom last season. So, yeah.
Still, yeah. I don't know.
So, the next point I have is documents get forwarded to Beth's goggles by Cindy, and the information that was passed on was that the gambler was blackmailing somebody. And so I'm like, this tells you how powerful the gambler's computer and software is, that he can hack into that system could hack in and into the goggles and send stuff. And so I thought it was interesting that she kind of did it that way. rather than bringing it out. But I guess she can't because she can't let him know that she's got the laptop yet. So,
Yep.
Okay, so this is where I'm confused a bit. Because we keep seeing Cindy trying to get into the gambler's computer, but she can't figure out the password. I thought it was her own laptop or her dad's laptop that she was using when she's trying to send stuff out to the team, but then we see her in the next scene and she's like, okay, what's the gambler's password? Oh, I can't get into it. I thought it was two separate things.
The issue is she can't get into the files on her dad. Yeah. That's what she's trying to get into. Like, she can get into the other stuff, but he's got files on everybody, like, I guess, like, so he could blackmail them, and she can't guess the passcode to get into those files.
So she's using the gambler's laptop to do all this other stuff. Okay, that's where I got disconnected. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Even still, even though it's the gambler's laptop, I mean, Cindy seems to be a much smarter hacker than we really know. I mean, or is she just lucky because the gambler's computer is already completely set up and she's just, basic knowledge and she's getting through? Maybe that's more what it is, but she still has to know how to use it to be able to, okay, I'm going to hack into the goggles and type away on the keyboard. No, she has to know how to figure that out. So I think she's more savvy than we give her credit for.
Yeah, I think he's got some stuff built in, but she still has to be able to know how to use it. So,
yeah, I think there's definitely some knowledge there, because I mean we know she's like genius level smart from season 1. Like she dropped a few things. I mean mostly about chemistry, but I mean she seems pretty darn smart. So yeah, I think she is probably a decent hacker. That would make sense just given her villainous past. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's that's what it is, and but it brings up the point because Cindy and Courtney talk, about how things are going, and it kind of gives like they're talking about Starman getting balance and the gambler wanting to reform and things like that, and I think that gives Cindy the idea of what she's going to do later, of talking to Starman and things like that. But it just kind of gives her that idea. But we get this lunch meeting where basically everything comes out. They're shared with the group about the gambler blackmailing the Crocks, but they agree not to say a word to Sylvester, but Cindy kind of circumvents that. So,
which, like Harley said earlier, is just a bad idea, right? Like she's she's got the right intentions behind what she's trying to do because she's trying to prove herself.
Right.
Again, leading to me to say that I think all of our bad guys are truly trying to reform themselves, and we're going to get introduced to new bad guys. So it might come down to the end of the season when the attempting to reform bad guys actually join with the good guys to fight the real bad guy.
I'm with you.
And that's
yeah, I agree.
I definitely think that's where we're going.
Yeah. It's going to take the one big fight. Which side are you picking? The town is on the line. Which side are you picking? This is the final fight, and that's one we'll know for sure.
Yeah. So I called this next section Sylvester's Quest for Balance.
I do like that.
So he is following Courtney's advice and looking for his place in Blue Valley. And so we kind of get him experiencing Blue Valley. So Harley's got some thoughts on this.
I do. I actually really love these opening scenes. I thought they were very amusing. He's kind of taking in all of Blue Valley. He's marveling at how quaint the little town is. And I mean, he's not wrong. It's literally Dallas, Georgia. It is a very quaint little town, and it's like almost distracting how much they're showcasing that downtown area, because I've literally walked everywhere these actors have walked. And so I'm like, oh, there's that parking lot down down the hill that he just drove up, and I parked in that parking lot, and I walked up this hill, and I walked around the whole square. And so it is.
That is so cool.
It is. I need to go back and, you know, maybe like take some video or something. Like, I know it's kind of ridiculous, but
I want some selfies of you in there. Look I'm at the restaurant. Hey, and look I'm by the big mural on the wall.
Yeah, I've got some pictures from the last time I was there, but I think I went sometime in like either late 2020 or early 2021, and things were still a little weird with COVID and all that. But yeah, so I mean, it's a little over an hour away from me, so it's not far, but it's not exactly doable with kids. So I'll have to figure out some time and try and go and do that again.
That just gave me a Patreon supporter bonus idea.
What,
you go
babysitter?
there with a no, like a video camera. You go there and you give us a little tour, a selfie tour. Look at, hey, just walk around, give us a 10-minute tour, and we can send that out to our Patreon supporters before everybody else. There you go.
Okay.
Bonus content.
All right. I'll have to find some time to do it before it gets chilly.
Yeah.
And you have to wear your Harley outfit.
Maybe.
Just because you'd be live on camera, that'd be fun.
I know, but I don't have one that fits right now.
Oh. All right. Back to the show. Where were we? Oh, yeah, your quaint little town. I actually agree with you on that it was a fun opener watching Sylvester try to understand how the town goes about its daily life. You know, he's just not used to that kind of friendly small town atmosphere because he sees the Potbelly Pig being walked down the street. Everyone's friendly, saying hi to him, and he's like, "Yeah, hi. Like, I don't even know you, but hi." He just has such an odd reaction to it. So this part, I enjoyed him. I enjoyed his performance there, and it had the music happening, and you know, he goes into the restaurant. And he has burnt toast and overdone eggs and all. Like it was a fun entire sequence for sure. Good start, and then for me, it lost after that. But yeah, until the fight.
I know, I agree. It was a really good start. I actually really loved this whole gag with the coffee and then his praise of Maria's tea, just because it like called back to her trading from the shade. I was like, okay, that's good. I do like that.
Yeah.
See, and I mentioned that before. They've created this recurring bit for that waitress, and somehow, to me, it's really endearing. I don't know why, but that waitress is just super endearing. And I'm just so happy for her that she got to do something successful because the shade helped her. I don't know. It's just fun.
I know, I liked that. I was like, see, his heart was in the right place.
Yeah, I agree.
Starman scared him off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yolanda is back at work, so evidently Mom's allowed her to go back to work. And I liked... Now, he may have done it for ulterior motives, but I like how he praised Yolanda's spirit and the fact that Ted Grant would love her and what she's bringing to Wildcat. So I appreciated him recognizing that Wildcat spirit in her and kind of giving her some praise for that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought this was a nice touch, and I liked the opening scenes. Like, they were doing good with him and like starting to redeem him, and then they took a whole different turn. But what I liked about this is, like, you know, of course they're all going to be comparing themselves, like all of the young kids are going to be comparing themselves to their counterparts. And I really like that Yolanda is actually essentially the same as Ted Grant, because it makes sense that the costume would choose her for the same reasons that it chose Ted. And so I'm happy that Sylvester, for whatever reason, decided to share that information with Yolanda, because I think it really helped her, and it really kind of made her feel uplifted and better about herself. And I think her character really needed that. And, you know, we know that Starman is pretty blunt and he doesn't really sugarcoat anything. So I did appreciate that what he shared with her was actually uplifting.
Yeah.
For her, yeah.
For her.
And I agree with you. It was nice for her to receive some support for her behavior and the way she's, you know, standing up for what she thinks and believes is right. And to get the comparison to her unknown mentor. I mean, he was never around her, but she is taking on his persona, and she's kind of learning through what she found out from him. So I did like all of that, but I have a bit different feeling than you guys with what Sylvester is doing here, because he kind of tells her to keep being judgy and short-sighted and to not give people a second chance, which to me is kind of brainwashing her to be just like him and treat people how he does, and I don't think that's good. I think the way Courtney's going about it and giving people a second chance is the better way to go, and he's trying to tell Yolanda, like, no, keep doing it, that's great, don't give them a second chance, they're criminals, and we shouldn't ever trust them. Like, he's kind of brainwashing her into think the way he's thinking, which I don't think is good, and it could cause problems on the team later this season.
Yeah, that's what I said about his motive behind it, because I can see him like saying, okay, I see that Rick and Yolanda are not up on including all these people, and it's like, let's kind of maybe developing an us versus them type of thing. But yeah, so not sure on his motives, but
yeah. Well, and what I did like though is that she gave him the idea of going to find work, because he's like, I never really been a church guy. I'm not. What was the other point he said?
Too old for school.
Too old for school.
Yeah.
But
Right.
he's like, finding work. He's like, oh yeah, that's something I can do. So I kind of like that they had that little connection with each other, and I'll be interested to see what he goes to do. And I thought it'd be fun if we speculate, if you guys give a guess, what kind of job you think Starman would get. Like, what does he seem to you? Like a
used car
cell phone
salesman?
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay.
yeah. Pat can fix up the cars and he can sell.
There we go.
I don't know.
yeah. That's a perfect. I can't really think of anything else, but like
I
fight promoter. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fight Club.
But he's looking for work. He's checking the want ads at the garage while Pat and Zeke are working on S.T.R.I.P.E, and so Pat kind of runs down for us the jobs that the JSA had. So Dr. Midnight was a surgeon, Our Man was a chemist, Green Lantern was a radio. He was in charge of a radio broadcast company or a media company. And Sylvester brings up that his parents used him and his sister as props, which is kind of true to the comics, that they were kind of well-to-do, and some of the financing from the JSA, I think, came from his family. But it really brings up the point that Starman, he sees that without being Sylvester, without being Starman, he doesn't really see a purpose for who he is. And so yeah.
Here's my other idea I just thought of. You think used car salesman. I was like, the school might need a new janitor right now.
Yeah, Shining Knight isn't around anymore.
That's true.
And he can keep an eye on everybody and just have a job.
Yeah.
There
you go.
Yeah. No, I think what I did like about that conversation, which I think we'll hear some more of later, but I loved that he really feels like he needs a purpose. And I do kind of appreciate that about the character, that he doesn't want to feel used. He doesn't want to feel like a set piece. And so I do like that. I just don't understand the way the writers are going about getting him there.
Yeah, I totally agree with
that.
You
Actually,
on
what you just said makes me feel a little bit better about his character and the way he's been behaving. Is understanding that he doesn't want to just be a tool to be used by somebody else. He doesn't know how to be his own man and be his own person and decide for himself how to go about his life. And now he's got the chance to just have a life, and that's why he's struggling. So that actually made me feel a little bit better about what's happening with him.
Yeah.
And you didn't even mean that to happen, but there you go.
Here we are.
So Zeke offers him some sage advice, and this is my favorite scene, so we'll get to it later. But I'm asking this question: is it me, or are they making Zeke out to be an Uncle Jesse character?
I don't know this reference, but I loved this scene, so yay.
I think I might. Are you talking Dukes of Hazzard, Uncle Jesse?
Yes, I'm talking Dukes of Hazzard.
All right. Yeah, I think they're totally making him out to be more wise than just a junkyard dog, and so far it's fun with Zeke. This episode for me really sunk in that point of too many characters on the show now, and I think I was feeling it because we got this great scene with Zeke, but then I felt it when we had Beth's parents talking to her again. I was just starting to get this feeling as this episode went on, like, they're really trying to squeeze in every single person they've introduced us to all into one episode, and it's giving me that feeling that some of our listeners have been complaining about, that there might be too many people on this show now. But we'll talk more about that scene. I did love it too, but I love the Uncle Jesse reference. That's just hilarious. So.
I knew you would get it.
Where's my Daisy Duke? Is she coming next?
We can hope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just got that stink eye from Harley.
Oh, moving on.
All right. So Cindy shows up at the house and basically spills the details of the blackmail to Sylvester, and she proposes a team up, and he just immediately tears her down and tells her to leave. And so this was rough.
Oh yeah, it was kind of savage, like, honestly. I mean, in some ways Cindy does sort of deserve it. She's still kind of going behind everyone's back, and she was a legitimate villain. Like, not even like a halfway proto-villain. She was like a legit villain. But Starman wasn't really here for any of that. And then that's kind of where this started to rub me a little bit the wrong way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad Cindy did not get his approval, since it may hopefully help her learn a lesson finally. But he tore her down, like, pretty brutally, and honestly, the only reason is just because she's Dragon King's daughter. I mean, he honestly really doesn't know this girl at all, and granted, her father was a monster, but he kind of just comes off as a real big jerk in this scene, and it doesn't get any better after this.
Well, it's totally right, because the way he just said it, he doesn't know her at all. Like, he is judging her completely on what he knows about her father.
Yeah.
And he should step back and take a look and go, okay, look at the way she was raised and what her dad did to her. How else is she supposed to turn out?
Yeah.
He needs to be able to have that perspective and not keep jumping to conclusions and being so judgmental over these kids like that. Because you're right, he is a jerk, and it's not a good look for him, and it's making him unlikable for me when we know that Cindy is trying. And she may not be going about it the best way, but we see her join them at the lunch table, not even argue with anybody. She just accepts what Courtney is telling her about, if you do this again, you'll be kicked off the team. And she's like, okay. Like, I get it. I screwed up, and I get it. Like, she's trying. She really is. And again, you got to look at her upbringing. How do you expect her to be any different when she was raised the way she was, as an experiment and, mistreated as she's a project? Was never loved for or cared for. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that all comes out of his past, because he sees what kind of upbringing he has of, like, his parents were using him and his sister. And, honestly, until he starts really spending time around the family, Pat's family, and seeing what a family is really like, I don't think he's going to get it, because nobody in the JSA really had the best, like, home life, and they didn't have great relationships with their kids. I mean, we're going to see that coming up, hopefully with Jade and Obsidian. So I don't think he's had any examples. So he looks at, he says, okay, this is Dragon King. She's got to be exactly like him, because he doesn't know any differently. Yep. But yet I don't know if it's being well written enough. Like, I'm reading into this, and I don't know if other people are going to see that. Like, I don't think high school age kids, who's the target audience of this, and, are going to read into that, like, where he's coming from. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, good point. Good point.
So, we're gonna skip the battle for now, but like afterwards, Sylvester yells at Pat, but Pat stands up to him, and I love that he's standing up for himself, and just what kind of message that Sylvester is sending to Court.
I'll talk a little bit more about
history.
that when we get to it coming up.
Yeah. Because it's Flash's favorite scene.
All right.
So.
Well, do you want me to save my notes for then, or do you want me to?
You can give your thoughts now if you want, just quickly. But
yeah, no, I mean, just this was another great scene. You guys had picked the 2 favorite scenes that I had, so I had to go back and literally I was rewatching mostly to find a favorite scene, but I loved that this is just another way to kind of show that Starman is still living in the past, right? Like, he can't see Pat as anything but his sidekick. Like, he's having a hard time moving on, which kind of makes sense. He just came back to life, and for him, no time has passed. Like, nothing has changed. So it does kind of remind us of that. I do like that. And he also, I mean, he admits it. He doesn't know who he is. He's lost. He's become a crazy person who blows up grocery stores. And we'll get to that.
Yeah. So Courtney fills in the JSA, about the Crocks coming clean. And, Cindy kind of comes clean as well. She always wanted, she talks about how she wanted Sylvester's approval to gain theirs. And, like we said, Court lays down the law. It's like, you can't do that again, or you're off the team. So
yeah, that made me happy.
Finally.
I was like, yay, Courtney established the boundaries, but now she's got to enforce them. So team leader, go girl, but step up and lead. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Cindy actually stays in line this time.
Well, isn't that what we were asking for the last 2 episodes?
Yeah.
Is for Courtney to be a little tougher and be a leader instead of such a pushover?
Yeah.
So this looks so much better for her to take charge and kind of stand up. And the rest of the team was just like, yeah, exactly. And I think Cindy actually kind of respected that. And like, oh, even though she's probably 2 to 3 years older than her, she knows it's not her team. She's not the leader. Courtney is. So it just worked all the way around. It looked good for Courtney. And she didn't have a bit of annoying, Leave It to Beaver too good this episode.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
I agree. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, got a couple more points here. So, Sylvester is going over some JSA files, which I thought was interesting. And, he's comes to the determination that he needs to go look at the crime scene again. And, he's going to take Cosmo with him, but he was like, okay, not my turn. It's in the evening. So that's key, because when he goes to the crime scene and he's looking around, he gets, like we talked about earlier, picked up high in the air and dropped back to Earth by the roaring creature.
Yeah. So let's be sure here. What's going on? Is the dark cowled guy in leather gloves that's sitting at the desk, the Dr. Claw, is that the same thing as what's doing the attacking? Did we hear deep growls in both scenes? Because I'm just assuming that we did, because I thought when we saw the glove and the guy sitting watching the screens, I thought I heard a low rumble, not so much of a growl, but he was still kind of going,
Yeah.
And so it made me think it was the same. I'm just assuming. But that attack on Sylvester, like I was saying before, he wasn't picked up. He was lifted into the air as if being sucked up by something. Nothing actually grabbed him. So whatever that is, whatever that growling creature is, can obviously fly. I don't think there's somebody that's 50 feet tall and just... I think it's someone that can fly or has a ship, or I don't know. I like the Stargirl hasn't really lend into that sci-fi-ness. I think it's someone that can fly and has some kind of power, obviously, whether it's telekinetic power, like move objects with your hand, with your mind, I don't know. But something is going on with this
be.
guy, and my question was just, is it the same? Is the guy sitting at the desk watching the TV screens in control of a growling creature, or is he the growling creature? That's where I want to kind of figure it out.
My first impression is it's both, but he is the creature that attacked, and he is the one in the shadows.
Okay,
but
same
that's
person,
I don't think there's two people. I don't.
Well,
but
it might not be people. He might be the person in charge, but he's in charge of a creature because.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's, but like, there's not. It's just him.
Okay.
Both times. So
because
that's my impression.
I could go either way right now. It could be him because, like, you did hear him kind of, like I said, he's him and Han in a real deep voice, but he also could be in control. I did see there's some speculation that, a lot of people, it's Grundy, it's Grundy. We know it's not Grundy unless Grundy is now under the control of somebody again. But Grundy didn't sound like that. He didn't have that animalistic sound. Like, it just still sounds like a panther or a lion to me. So I really don't know what's going on, but
yeah,
maybe he's. I don't know any DC villains. Like he's some kind of Tiger Man or something. I don't know what whoever this guy in the black glove is, because but he's definitely still growling like an animal. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I saved my speculation for the end on the who, but I definitely think it's kind of the same person. I think the person watching is also the creature attacking.
Okay. Sounds good. And closing out this little section, Pat is making Sylvester a new costume because Sylvester talked about that he didn't even have a costume anymore. And so I thought this was really neat.
He looked so happy to be doing that costume, and like he's just so proud, and he's doing his buddy a favor. And you saw Mike peek in. The only scene we got of Mike, we saw him peek in and see that his dad's happy. He left him alone. My question is, what is the suit going to look like? Is it a Starman suit? Is it going to be something completely different? Are we going to get a name change for him, or what? Like that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
a good
know.
question. I mean, it seemed similar to the material that Courtney had for hers, so I'm guessing it's just a retooling of the Starman suit.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll be cool when we see it.
Yeah.
All right, so here we get into something that we all liked, the supermarket brawl.
Yeah. And really, this is the best scene. If we could pick this as our favorite scene, this was it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So the Crocks are shopping and just having this fun time between themselves, playing back and forth, and Sportsmaster is like pretending like he's gonna shoplift, like it's a cheat day and that kind of stuff. They're just being like this normal couple. And here Sylvester shows up in public with the staff to confront them. And they even call him out about bringing the staff out in public, and they don't want to fight. I mean, I'm like, what?
Yes, my thoughts exactly, because I was thinking the same thing. We're just openly walking around with the staff now? Like, when did that become a thing? Also, what happened to the apparently one employee that the grocery store had and the customers? Did they just magically disappear within a space of like 2 seconds? So
we saw them running out, but like running around.
There was
but
one
still.
scene showing 3 of them running. But
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it just it went from
Still.
a bunch of people trying to finish up shopping with the cashier to a completely empty store with no one in the parking lot. Like, no one called the cops? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There was only 3 cars in
really.
the parking lot, too, after that.
They just all fled.
Yeah.
And one of them was one of the Crocs.
Well, here's my first thoughts. If that doesn't tell the blind and deaf people of Blue Valley that something's up in their town, that there's superpowers in there, I mean, come on. A fight like that breaks out and the store is destroyed. People have witnessed something for sure now. So what comes of it? Yet another building wrecked and nobody says anything? Are they just going to brush it off and pretend nothing happened? No, they witnessed a fight with superpowered people. So something has to come of it. We've got to see this town come alive and have reaction to that, or this is just going to start feeling way too phony. Like the only people living in this town are villains and are superheroes. Like, where is there? This town has to come to life, and that's another thing I wanted to gripe about a little bit. It's got to come to life. We see it in the restaurant all the time. What about the rest of the town? So the other thing I want to talk about is just how awesome that fight was. You guys always ask me about the choreography. It was beautiful. That fight was absolutely amazing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I had another thought that you guys brought up, the bringing the staff out. That, to me, just shows that Sylvester isn't... Well, he's not thinking, but he just doesn't care. Like, I'm Starman, going to walk around. And again, it calls back to the point of, people saw that. Do they not think anything is weird there? What is this glowing staff? Like, who is this dude? Because obviously people see him walking and getting in there. I don't know. There was a lot of funny things about that scene, as awesome as it was. There's a lot of narrative stuff that was like,
Yeah.
What happened? And here's a funny point, though, that I wanted to make sure I remember to put in here. We're talking about the grocery store fight, and that place got leveled. Like, they destroyed it. And yet, if you guys follow the Stargirl Instagram account and a couple of the actors from the show, the actors playing the Crocks and Joel McHale, they were all posting pictures of themselves, like selfies of themselves. And the girl playing Paula, she posted one in the store. She's in one of the shopping aisles, and she's like, "Oh, this grocery store in such and such in town is so wonderful, and they're so friendly. They actually let us film in a real life store and just trusted that we wouldn't wreck anything." Well, it looks like you wrecked a lot. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going. Maybe they recreated it on stage somewhere as parts of it for the fight. I don't know, but anyway, I thought that was funny.
That is pretty funny, and I really hope they didn't. I mean, honestly, if they did trash a grocery store, like, that the budget paid for everything, but still, like, that's ambitious.
Yeah. So, kind of getting into it. So, Sylvester blasts first, and then they have this, public battle. But I love this whole sequence. Like I said, I just absolutely loved Starman showing his strengths, his powers, his abilities, how he uses everything, and just how experienced he is. So, yeah, I love it. I agree,
too. I also really love this fight for many of those same reasons. But what constantly stood out to me is just, I really feel like Sylvester's judgment is seriously lacking. Why would you go and confront these people in public? Like, what are you thinking? Was that normal in his day? Like, I just don't fully get it. I would like to have that question answered or fleshed out or whatever. But I think what I really enjoyed seeing is, like, we got to see some of that shooting star in action in the battles. Like, I thought that was super cool. I was like, oh, look, they found a purpose for it.
Cool. Okay, I got different points for everything you guys were saying. So I'm going to get back into the fight because it was amazing. Like I said, the choreography, everything. Like, when Sportsmaster leaps up and over the shelves into the next aisle, and then Tigress does a sliding kick spin around the end of the shot, it just, everything looks so cool. Like, it looks so natural, it looks so elegant and beautiful. Like, they were actually doing this. You couldn't tell there was any wiring tricks involved. There were nothing. I'm like, wow, they really pulled that off. It was excellent. And we're really seeing what Sportsmaster and Tigress can do. They're both really agile. They both have superhuman capabilities in agility and some strength. Like I said, the moves and choreography was awesome, but there was one little bit that I'm shaking my head over out of confusion because I don't understand it. When Tigress has Sylvester in a headlock and she's choking him out, he calls the staff to him, and they get slammed backwards into some type of refrigerator thing. And Starman gets up, and he spins around. He's about to smash her in the head. He comes swinging down with the staff. She's sitting there. She's sitting on her butt. And as he's about to hit her, she just suddenly slides across the floor to get out of the way. And that bit doesn't make any sense to me. what is she? She didn't push off the fridge. She didn't kick. She didn't do anything. She just slid on her butt out of the way. I'm like, what just happened there? How did she do that? Did she pass gas and it projected her forward? Like, it just didn't make sense. If you watch that little bit again, you'd be like, oh yeah, Flash is right. She's just sitting there and whoosh, she slides out of the way. So that was the only little bit that I have to harp on. But anyway. Now, the other point I wanted to talk about is you guys are talking about Starman and Cosmo. It really seems like Cosmo, in this moment, when Starman is attacking, Cosmo's going to do whatever he asks of him. Like, they're pretty in tune with each other this episode, and maybe this like their whole connection is really woken up now because they've been spending so much time together again. Because Cosmo had no qualms about hurting or even attempting to kill the Crocks. I thought Cosmo was kind of having a bit of a consciousness of itself, like I'm not going to do anything bad, but in Starman's hands, it doesn't seem to care. He's with him, and he's going to take these people out.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw that, and I feel like we got a small hint of that early in season 1 when Courtney was trying to figure things out, and she was kind of taking the lead from Cosmo, and she kind of reined him in, if you will. I guess I'm gendering the staff, but you know what I mean? Like, she reined the staff in. So I think that, and this has kind of been my whole point with Starman, is that I feel like Courtney brings the light, and I thought Starman would as well, but he is a very dark character, especially for someone who's supposed to wield light. So I'm finding it a little confusing.
Yeah, you're right. Cosmo sounds like a male name to me.
I just think of Cosmo Kramer, so that's why I assume.
Yeah. And I thought Starman referred to it as a he and a him a couple times.
Did he? I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I
Doesn't
can't
really
remember,
matter. But. So I just want to I just want to debate with you a little bit, Harley, the point about the shooting star. I didn't know if that was the full shooting star, because all he did was slam the ground. We didn't see him charge it up. We didn't see his eyes glow. We didn't see anything. He didn't fly to the sky. He just kind of slammed the ground, and boom, a big wave came up. So I don't know if that was a full-on shooting star.
I mean, I think it was kind of the same concept, right? He definitely was charging it up, and then he slams it down, and he releases the energy out, and he sends them flying through the windows instead of like shooting up into the sky. I mean, we did say, like, how would that be helpful in a battle? And I feel like they kind of showed us, like, it's not that he's going to slam it down and go shooting up. He's going to slam it down, and the energy is going to like
and redirect
it. Yeah, that's how I took it.
I guess what the part I'm missing is when he was teaching Courtney, he had to like supercharge it up and his eyes glow. Like we never saw that.
True.
He just slammed it down. So
that's a good point. Like, so maybe you're right. So maybe it wasn't like a full on energy. So like, that's the thing.
It was a quick one.
So that kind of, I mean, that struck me as I rewatched the episode, the sheer power that Starman is capable of with Cosmo, and if he is not even charging up, to your point where his eyes are glowing to like the full like capacity, I mean, look at what he did. And like,
right, and you look at how much Cosmo was glowing, like it was like it was supercharged. So like I think some of it is like Cosmo is feeding on the energy and the emotions of the person wielding, and like Sylvester's just so used to that like maybe the whole way over, like he's feeding that energy into the staff on the way over, because like you saw it when it was like hanging over his shoulder and just like solid glowing and just so full. Like I think, you know, that shooting star maneuver that he showed was a way of charging it up and using that. But I think like he's worked with it so long that he's doing that just by touch and feeding into it, whereas like Courtney may have to do it a little more consciously. But I mean, it just shows how much he can do without like, you know, ramping himself up.
Yeah, so. I mean, there's definitely something between him and Cosmo, because he's pulling a lot of power out of it, or like I like what you guys are saying, it's feeding off of him. Like what his anger, his aggression, Cosmo's just like like it's like sucking it up and energizing it.
Yes.
It's nothing we've ever seen before out of Starman or Star, because this is the first live-action Starman we've ever had, and we've only gotten glimpses of Stargirl from the other version of her on Legends. We've never seen this kind of power and what they can really do, either of them. So it's cool to see him power the staff up and take on both Tigress and Sportsmaster and pretty much win easily, pretty handedly. But again, I just want to, with Joel McHale, there's something, he's still a bit stiff to me. He's not engaging me with his charisma and his acting. He still is coming off stiff in his performance, so I'm not a fan of this actor yet. But I also want answers with Cosmo. How does Cosmo work? Where did the power come from? Why has he got cosmic power? Like, what is that all about? I want some explanation, and I'm hoping we can get that from Starman, because I would assume that he understands it and knows how it works. I don't know why Courtney hasn't asked him yet. Like, she's just, that to me, I'd want to know right away. Like, where'd the staff come from? How does it work? And I'd want to know everything.
Yeah, so hopefully we get some more answers there.
I hope so. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not with you. I do like Joel McHale. I have watched him in other things, and I've always seen him in a comedic performance role. So I am just super enjoying him in this, because I've never seen him take as much of like a serious bent as he is in this role. And especially like with the music playing over like the whole second half of this fight scene, the way they combine that with like his performance, like the anger, the intensity, just everything he was doing, like he would have killed the Crocks. Like I 100% believe he would have killed them. So I really enjoyed the way that was edited together. I thought it was fantastic, and I loved his performance. Like,
well, I agree with you on his performance in the fighting. When I talk about him being stiff, it's when he's just in dialogue scenes. That's where he's coming off stiff to me. He's doing awesome in the action stuff, for sure. Showing his anger and showing his aggression, and showing his, the different physicality elements. I think he's doing great there. I just find him stiff in the dialogue.
Yeah, and I wonder. I honestly wonder if that's somewhat of the direction that he's being given.
He's not
like. That he's being directed, that he is unsure of himself. He's going back and forth in who he is. He doesn't know, like, so I think some of it is maybe like the direction that he's being given as a character. Yeah. And it's not like maybe the director, it's one part that's not written well enough, and it's two, like he's not being directed well enough combined with that. Maybe it's some of both with that like he's playing what he's being written and directed, but that's not what we really want to see, and that's working well. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just, because I don't know him. You guys have prior experience with him from other shows. I don't. This is the first time I've ever seen him. I have no idea who he was before this, so I have no attachment.
Yeah. I do. He's fine. I do. I like him.
Yeah. But we get to see S.T.R.I.P.E. stop the fight, and this was really cool. I mean, I really like this section of Pat coming in, and I was glad it was S.T.R.I.P.E. and not the JSA coming in to do this. I'm glad that, Pat made the decision. Like, Mike calls Courtney and tells them what's going on with Sylvester, and I'm glad that it was Pat that went in and stopped this fight.
I think that was a smart choice, and I enjoyed that choice. This is the point in the episode where I really felt like they're assassinating Sylvester's character as Starman, because he seems borderline psychotic in the parking lot. I mean, like I said, he was ready to use Cosmo's energy to just completely obliterate the Crocks until Bat shows up. And he had no problem with that. He's like, you are my enemy. I believe that you are guilty and you shall die. Like, he was judge, jury, executioner in that moment.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, this is where you're having trouble with his character. I'm having trouble with, I'm going to bring it back again, the town. Because Sylvester just waltzes in there, destroys an entire grocery store and 2 vehicles in the parking lot, and doesn't have to answer for any of it. Like, what's going on in this town? It seems like he just got away scot-free. He doesn't even have to make amends or atone for any of that. Like, what is going on in this town? That's strange to me.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
TB convenience.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, it's like...
It's just strange. But on a positive note, what I like is that when Pat talks, when he's inside S.T.R.I.P.E, when he talks, it's not his voice that comes out. It's the robotic S.T.R.I.P.E voice.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. And it made me... I was looking at the Crocks, the look on their faces when he was talking, and they're looking up at him with this confused look. Do they know that that's Pat inside? Because in that moment, it didn't look like it. Like, it looked like he scared them off. Because they were bewildered. They were just like, maybe they're just scared of S.T.R.I.P.E. I don't know, but because they probably couldn't do anything against it. S.T.R.I.P.E. could probably knock them silly. But it just looked like they didn't acknowledge in the moment that was actually Pat talking to them.
Yeah, I mean they do because Sportsmaster showed up in the shop last season, and so he very well knows that it is. But I think they were just so caught up in like thinking that they're probably going to die and that kind of stuff, and being surprised that S.T.R.I.P.E is going to set up, actually stop the fight and not, continue and help Starman.
I think they were surprised that Pat was standing up for them and not with Starman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be, that's a good point. The other thing I just thought of while you guys were talking is it could be they never, when Crusher saw the robot in the garage, I don't think he knew that it was a suit to ride in. Because remember he was picking on Pat. Oh, look at you playing with your toys. You got your big robot. Like I think he thought it was just a building project. Maybe that was his first time seeing it actually functioning, and that was the look on his face. Like, whoa, holy crap, that thing actually works. Like maybe he didn't expect that. I don't know.
I don't think so, because I think we had it in season 1. When they were battling.
Yeah, that's true. He was there.
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah.
When they were coming out of the radio station or the TV station, and they, basically the kids are getting their butts handed to them by Sportsmaster and Tigress, and then Pat comes in.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Forget my idea. And maybe then that was the look. He's like, like that thing can kick our butts. Okay. But I like your idea that they were surprised that Pat was standing up for them instead, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I told you. They're going to be best friends, Pat and Crusher.
I think they already are.
Yeah.
Pat won't admit to that yet.
Well, Paulo and Barbara.
Yeah. So I had this in here, just kind of reviewing the suspects. So we've got, Cindy's digging into the files and sending them to the JSA and egging on Sylvester. But I think that's just her way of doing things.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you guys. I think she saw the laptop and either knew it had stuff about everyone on it or just took the opportunity to take it, making an assumption. I mean, I'm sure it's going to come back to bite her, but I definitely don't think she's the killer, not after the ending of this episode.
Yeah,
I call it from episode 1 that it's not her. It never was. She's just trying to prove herself. I like I said, I never bought into that. This idea of the whodunit. It was fun, but I never bought into it. I thought she was going to be the one that got blackmailed by Yolanda just to get her off the team. Just by last week, after hearing the title of the episode and knowing that Cindy has a laptop, I thought Yolanda was going to find out that she has it, and then she was going to set it up to make Cindy look like she did it, and just to get her off the team. That's what I thought was going to happen, and none of that came true.
So the Crocks were being blackmailed by the gambler, and this was what the closing scene was about last week. And like I said, we talked about before, they've admitted to everything, but the gambler was blackmailing them over crimes that the ISA committed but they didn't, and the people who were there were dead, so nobody could defend them. But an interesting point, we find out that they are free. They're not escaping the law. They're free on a legal loophole. And so that was kind of interesting to think about. But we also find out that the gambler stopped blackmailing them 2 months ago without explanation, and he paid them back every cent. So, I'm loving that they're kind of backing up Courtney, that the gambler really wanted to change.
Yeah. I have to admit, this stuff was confusing to me. Even everything you just said, X-Force, I'm like, huh? It was a little bit confusing. All this blackmailing, who and why and whatever, it lost me a little bit there.
Yeah.
And even the second time through, I don't know. Maybe because I was getting a little bit snory on that one, on this episode. I don't know. But yeah, I found that stuff a little bit confusing trying to keep up with.
Yeah. And we got no information this week on the Shade.
Nope.
I think he's gone for a while, which sucks for the show because they, like Harley said last week, he has class. He brings class to the show, and we lost that now. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he can, like we said last week, hopefully he can bring in the jade and obsidian and some of the other aspects we'll get into this season, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So this was a short little sequence. Actually there was 2 short little sequence with the ice cold grandparents. So the first one is that they were kind of peeking in on Sylvester at the diner.
Yeah. It made me wonder if they obviously recognize him, but do they know who he is? Like, to see him in civilian clothes, would the grandparents know that that's Starman, just based on their son being Icicle? I don't know how much they know. That's, to me, we don't have that type of info. It obviously looked like they knew who he was, but why? Why do they recognize him in civilian clothes?
Yeah, I don't know either. And the other little thing that I caught in the second watch is in that kind of end montage, you see them like putting on their coats and going out somewhere.
Yep.
I'm like, where are they going and what are they up to? So
in a hurry.
Yeah.
I might add.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
So I don't know. And now we get to speculate on the shadow character, watching the monitors and the camera feeds and the old timey screens and the growl that Flash talked about. So
yes, if you haven't heard it,
speculate away.
If you didn't hear it last week, you heard it this time for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, I've got theories.
Okay.
I've got 2 prominent theories, and I'm a little bit torn between the 2. But my initial one was that it could be Killer Croc. That was kind of like my leading theories because they seem to be in the sewers. That's why I was thinking about Killer Croc. And the other one was that it could be Dragon King somehow.
Okay. How do you see it as
I
Dragon King?
don't know if that's possible.
With the sounds that he's making.
Well, because Dragon King turns into something else that's super scary that we never really saw.
Oh, you're right.
So
could be.
Okay, I like the Killer Croc idea. That is really, really cool. It completely makes sense. He's big. He's got a bellowing voice. He's strong, but it doesn't unless he's transforming back to human form when he's sitting at his desk. Maybe he can. I don't know, but would Killer Croc be a character among the ones that we have part of the Stargirl universe? Because I think Killer Croc's a Batman villain, is he not?
he is a lot. You see him more in the Batman stuff, but I don't know. It just, that was like my first instinct. I was like, this feels like Killer Croc.
Yeah. Well, it fits right now. It fits, so that could be a good poll.
My guess.
Speculate away.
I have no guesses. I can't think of any.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what our listeners have to say about it. Maybe they've got some speculation.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Cameron, because we see him blowing off Courtney towards the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
And then, like, Miss Woods kind of calls him out, the teacher from last year who dealt with Rick. And she's talking with him, and she's kind of reaching out to him, like saying, you're not involved in your painting. You didn't turn in your work. That's not you. And I appreciate that she's grown from last year, and she's trying to connect with him like she didn't with Rick last year. She learned that lesson from Rick, but he's just like blowing her off. But then you see Rick standing up for her, and so you had to deal with this confrontation here.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron's struggling with whatever he's going through, thinking he's alone, obviously, and he's mad at Courtney for always walking out on him, so he's just doing the teenage thing and paying her back, doing the same thing. But that old teacher scene, I mean, I like this teacher because of what she's doing for Rick. That teacher has an endearing quality to me as well, even though she says, I'm the most hated teacher in the school, and I'm the most strict, and whatever. I like her. I'd like to have her as a teacher myself. And I just think because of that, because of what she's done for Rick, it's really, really cool that he steps in to defend her and defend her honor. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. I appreciated that. That's a way to man up and stand up, Rick. You've proven yourself. It's just cool. And I mean, there's a predictable fight coming between Cameron and Rick. It's going to happen. It has to happen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it has to happen for sure.
Yeah.
No, I actually really like the scene. I toyed with picking it as my favorite, but I thought we needed something happy, so I went with a different one.
But we do see Cameron throw an ice dart at Rick's car and give him a flat.
Wait, what?
So that...
Yeah. He suddenly has control of his powers. All we saw was tingly cold fingers and cold breath, and now he can throw ice... Well, like, he threw like a stake. It was like a spike.
He did. Yeah. Here's my thoughts on this. Like, you can definitely see that his powers are growing. I have a feeling that he's working on it either like with his grandparents. I'm not 100% certain if he's told them yet. Or maybe just on his own, but he's doing all of this instead of doing his schoolwork because they went out of their way to establish that he's out of his normal patterns. We know he can't paint and do art, so he has no hobbies, and we also know he's behind on his schoolwork. So I think he's been trying to figure out what's going on with himself. Whether or not he's clued in his grandparents yet, I don't know. We can see about that. So I think we're going to see little clips like this just throughout the season just to slowly establish him mastering his powers a little bit more.
Yeah, I can
That's
see
my
that.
thought.
So which way is he going to land? Good guy or bad guy?
They're painting him hardcore as a villain right now. It makes me sad, but we got to have a villain, so...
Yeah.
Well, he's got it. I mean, Icicle was the leader, so they need a new leader.
Yeah. We'll see.
Sad face.
Icicle Jr.
Yeah.
What do we call him? Snowflake?
I do believe it's actually Icicle Jr. But
Yeah. So, but he does apologize to Courtney.
Yeah.
And he talks about being a jerk to her and others, but he doesn't want to talk yet. So she just suggests going for a walk, but he can't be real with her yet. So
yeah, and I think that's because they were about to hold hands. I think he was into her. He likes being with her and wants to fix things with her, but they were about to hold hands, and he realized that he might not be able to control his ice powers, or she might notice that he's ice cold, and he didn't want her to feel that, and that's why he's like, I gotta go, because he doesn't want her to know yet.
I'm thinking emotions key up his his powers, and I think he's associating art with his parent, with his dad, and that's causing things to freeze up. He's feeling this anger at Rick, and he's able. So I'm thinking it's emotions that are keying up. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he freezes a lot of stuff he touches, so I definitely can see why he's shied away from that, being a little nervous to freeze Courtney.
How about an ice-cold kiss, Courtney?
Aww.
Well, we know a scene that we've got coming eventually from the trailer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's one where he just goes boom and like turns everything to ice around him or something that he sees. So, yeah.
Yep.
It's coming.
It's coming.
All right, so closing us out are our lessons in normalcy. So we get another Paula surprising Barbara at work scene.
I love
because the cake was a hit. Yeah. And now the Women's Rotary Club want to make her do a speech. And, Barbara's like, well, tell people how much you like the community and how important it is to you. And, this scene was just hilarious.
Which is coming up.
I love it. So
it is coming up. I clearly loved this one also.
Yeah.
I love their friendship.
Yeah, it is so fun.
Again, it's giving Barbara something to do this season, and it's nice.
Also true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's getting her antagonist, appropriately named Tim Tattle.
Oh, is that really his last name?
That's what, according to IMDb.
That's so bad.
Tim T. Tattle.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's awful.
So he's evidently her work manager.
So instead of J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, it's
Tim T. Tattle.
I was just thinking that. I was like, thanks, Stan Lee. Oh, wait, wrong franchise.
Yeah. So he's putting her down, and Paula sees this, and I thought, this is going to come back, and it did.
It did, because we see Tigress go to the office to bully Barbara's boss back and threaten him to leave her alone, which was fun. She's standing up for her friend, and it works. He's scared. But there's something odd here I need to ask you guys about. In that scene, he's in his office, and we see her enter the room behind him, and it's kind of blurry a little bit. She walks in the room, she turns, and then kind of just flies out of sight as he's turning around, and now she ends up beside him. That was really weird. Like, she doesn't jump. She doesn't use a grappling hook. This is the same thing as the butt slide across the grocery store floor. She just flies out of the scene. What is happening with her? I don't get it.
I think all of her abilities are kind of a bit inhuman. They're a little odd. They're a little off-putting. I mean, personally, like, every move that she makes is like clearly enhanced. I mean, people don't just jump and fly and flip over, grocery store shelves. That just doesn't happen. So,
but she didn't jump. It was weird. It's like she was on a Harry Potter broomstick. She just flew out. I can't explain it. I don't know what's going on, but. Okay, hopefully, because as far as I knew, she's just an enhanced martial artist. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've always felt that there's something a little extra to both of them. I do feel like they're enhanced in some way.
Sportsmaster makes sense. He's just an over-enhanced sports guy. He's good at everything, which means his agility, his accuracy, everything is, and he's got a little bit of strength. That makes sense. He's just a supercharged sports guy, but she's a bit all over. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
I want someone to answer that for me, listeners.
Yeah,
what is she? What's going on? Yeah.
So we close out with, Paula talking about, she's there giving the speech, and she's having a hard time until Barbara shows up and gives her the confidence to start. So that was neat.
Yeah, and
I liked that touch.
I talked about that, how it's just that's the defining moment to me, that Paula is really trying to be good. She's got a friend now. The friend makes her feel good when she's around, and it's showing that Barbara is starting to accept that as well. Barbara, why would she go out of her way? Because she kind of mocked the idea of being part of the Rotary Club, and yet she went out of her way to be there for her acceptance speech and support her. So she's trying as well to be friends with Paula. So, because if you think about it, Barbara's got no friends here either. Blue Valley is Pat's town. It's not her town. She doesn't know anybody other than her coworkers. So now she's got a friend.
Yeah, I like their friendship.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that friendship takes us into our favorite scenes. Let's get into those.
Shape out an eagle!
Awesome stuff. All right, Harley, you're up first.
All right, I called this one The Stuff of Nightmares.
Paula?
We've got a situation on our hands.
We do?
The German chocolate cake was a big hit at the Women's Rotary Club.
Oh, that's great, right?
It is a nightmare, Barbara. They want me to give an initiation speech at tomorrow's meeting. I don't know how to do that. What do I talk about?
Well, just talk about how much you're looking forward to doing whatever it is the Women's Rotary Club does.
What do they do?
I don't know. Well, you joined because you want to be part of Blue Valley, right? So tell them how much the community is important to you.
Oh, Miss Whitmore.
Hey, Barbara.
Yeah.
Read the new proposal.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, we're slipping. No. Maybe next time.
Who's that geek?
He's my new manager, Tim. It's the reason I will be staying up late doing this proposal again. I'm sorry, I have to get back to work.
Of course. Good luck, Barbara.
Yeah, you too.
There's so many good things in that entire scene, from
Yes.
Barbara not having a clue what the Women's Rotary Club does to, everything being a hit, being a problem. So it was fun. We needed some light stuff. So
Totally. But it brings you back to the scene last week when we saw them really struggling to bake a cake. So they must have figured it out, and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
clearly they got something put together.
Or Pat gave him some tips.
Yeah.
Or Pat did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, because he's the baker.
So I have to laugh really hard here because something that made me crack up while we were watching it, me and Patty Spivot, was when Barbara walks into her office and Paula just shoots out from behind the wall. There's a whooshing sound. And I'll play it for you again and I'll stop the clip, but listen for this whooshing sound.
Paula?
Hear that? So as that happens, Patty turns to me and she goes, "Man, I wish I made a sound like that whenever I entered a room." And I just laughed. That was pretty funny.
So
Because who doesn't want to whoosh when they come on the scene? That's awesome.
Certainly a way to make an entrance.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next verse.
So I called this one Salvage is Opportunity. So let's take a listen.
I mean, that's why I love being Starman. Not a prop. I serve a purpose. I'm somebody important. And without that, I'm nobody, really.
Whoa. Can you believe what you're hearing from this guy?
Nope.
Hey, you're not nobody, Sylvester, all right? You're Starman.
That's right. You're Starman. Let me tell you a little story. I went to live with my grandparents after I was born. My mother dropped me off one day and she told them, "He cries too loud."
Cried too loud.
Never saw her again. Anywho, when my granddad passed along a thing or two, and one thing he taught me was how quick someone will write off a good thing. Something doesn't work the way they want it to, they just toss it away. They think it's junk, but it's not. You see, junk is junk. Salvage is an opportunity. An opportunity to turn it into something new.
Yeah. Sorry, sometimes I get self-absorbed. Were you still talking about car parts, or was it a metaphor about me?
What's it matter for? I don't have the foggiest. You figure it out.
Definitely Uncle Jesse right there. Almost the accent is the same, too.
Yeah, I love the advice that Zeke gives to Sylvester. Like, he's an optimist. He sees opportunity, but Sylvester is just stuck on himself. But I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah. Zeke's becoming a fun character, so hopefully they keep bringing him around for stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was funny how Pat was just repeating him, and like, him and Pat must really talk about a lot and get along now, because Pat's like, yep, what he said. Like, he's just... fun.
Yeah. That was cute. I liked his quip at the end. What's it metaphor? You find out. You tell me. Whatever he said. I like that. That was so funny.
All right, mine is I'm Not Your Sidekick Part 2. And this is when Pat once again shuts Sylvester down when he's yelling at him and then gives him the best life wisdom about everything and how to be there for Courtney. This clip's a little bit longer because there's the fight and the argument and then all the wisdom that Pat gives after. I needed to include it all because it just encompasses the whole feeling. Yeah. So here it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked to the Crocs.
How could you step in front of me like that? Huh? You chose to protect them over me.
Sylvester.
You're my sidekick, not theirs. You got that?
I'm nobody's sidekick.
Oh, is that so?
I'm your friend, Sylvester. And I always have been. The Crocs, they didn't do it. And even if they had, this isn't the way to deal with things.
Oh, and you know how to deal with things. You let half the villains that killed our friends move in next door. Is that how you deal with things?
You don't destroy everything around them. It sends the wrong message.
To who?
To Courtney. When the staff first lit up for Courtney, she thought it was because you were her father.
What? Me? Why would she think that?
Courtney's real father disappeared the same Christmas Eve that the JSA died. And for her to think that her father's a superhero who sacrificed his life, saving the world, that was a hell of a lot easier than knowing that he was just some guy that didn't love her and hit the road. Right?
Jeez. What happened to him?
I don't know. I mean, he showed up in Blue Valley last year. He wanted to get this locket. This locket that he'd given to her when she was a little girl. Because it was worth some money. Also happened to be the thing that she cared the most about. So she gave it to him. He took it and he left.
What did you do?
I knocked him on his ass.
Good.
And I'm not proud of it. But that pain, it'll never leave her. And that's why you and I, that's why we gotta be there for her. Sylvester, you can't just be a friend to Courtney. You have to be like a father. All right. She put you on a pedestal, and she has since she first picked up the staff. And whether you like it or not, you have a responsibility to set an example to Courtney and to all these kids. Not just to be a better man, but to be the Starman that you set out to be.
I don't know who I set out to be. I just feel like a crazy person now who blows up grocery stores. I don't even have my costume anymore.
Costume doesn't make the man.
No, that's a start.
Yeah. It's a start.
Oh man, just so much good Pat stuff in that whole scene. I mean, he stands up to Sylvester, and then he lays down the life wisdom, and Sylvester's got, I can't do anything but just be like, okay, you're right. Like he can't argue it. Pat is right on every account, and this is the scene I really enjoyed. Joel McHale, like he did good here. His anger, and then the way he turns it off when Pat gets one over on him. I mean, this was the best scene of the episode for these two guys for sure. Just good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Great scene. Yeah. So good. So many good things were said. So good.
Yeah. I mean, you can't argue with Pat at all. It's just, he was bang on with everything.
Yeah.
So what this does for Sylvester, does he change? Does he learn a lesson from this, or does he lose his cool again? I'm betting he'll lose it one or two more times, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got to recover first, because we last saw him left for dead on the floor there.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, don't forget about the end of the episode. You're right.
Yeah.
He's beaten up pretty good.
Which we didn't really talk about, but... Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it now. He got lifted to the sky, was obviously shaken up, beat up, whatever happened to him, and then he got dropped from way up there. And it actually looked pretty painful because he bounced off the roof of the trailer and then fell to the ground. Like, he hit the edge of that trailer and hit the ground. So it was not a nice landing, and he's all bloody. So I don't know if Starman is invulnerable. Does he when he doesn't have the staff in his hand, is he just human? So can he be busted up really bad and broken bones?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, like, there was something that happened that enabled him to get out of the grave unharmed, but, like, I don't know if that, like, still, keeps him from, like, if there's anything residual there, if that was just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
true.
as far as I know, he's just human.
Okay, so he's hurt pretty bad. He'll probably be in the hospital. But here's my question. Did he see anything? When he wakes up, will he be able to tell anybody what happened to him?
I don't know. I could see that going both ways. Head injury, so he conveniently forgets.
Yeah.
Or they need to move the plot along so he wakes up and says, this is who it is. So, I don't know.
And that could not... Maybe he'll be out. Maybe he'll be unconscious for 3 or 4 episodes. So we'll continue building the mystery only to have him wake up and say, it's not any of those guys. It's this. And now we have our answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, then. Well, guys, if you would like to go with Harley on a journey through Blue Valley, because she's going to get you a video someday, you will want to get on our Patreon support and help out the show any way you can. We've got different tiers, different levels of support. And, be part of all the fun stuff that we do over there. And this is how you do that.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
And I know I just put you on the spot, Harley, but now you got to do it.
It's feedback, your time to speak up. Believe it or not, what you think and you say means a lot to us. But why should we sit here and wait if you won't hurry up? So feedback or simply shut up.
All right, we are kicking it off with an email from Aaron S.
Alright, Aaron says, I have to say, I am not a fan of this plot with Cameron. It's like they're saying he's evil now because of DNA instead of him being evil because his dad is dead and his supposed friends helped kill him, thus giving him a reason to hate them. Saying Cameron is a bad guy and saying these out-of-character things for him by being moody because of DNA is an issue for a multitude of reasons, and I don't like it at all. Your DNA doesn't make you evil. Your choices do. And Cameron has done nothing to be evil like the other ISA members. So this turn feels very manufactured. Also, if it's DNA based, why is it just kicking in now when his dad died? Why not when his mom died or while his dad was spending time away from him by fighting the new JSA?
Age related? I don't know. Or maybe he's just going through growing pains. That's why he's in a bad mood all the time. Maybe it hurts. I don't know.
I definitely think they were starting to set in before maybe his dad died. I feel like we saw flashback clips where there was something kind of going on with it. But Flash, I think you were onto something saying, was it Flash? Actually, one of you said it was triggered by emotions.
Yeah, X-Force said that.
And there we go. Yeah.
There was that scene. You remember we saw a scene of him 1 or 2 seasons ago where he was laying in bed sleeping and he breathed cold air.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so they definitely, and remember the birthday, when he blew out the candles, the birthday scene, they definitely were laying down hints. And so I think it's just kind of been
manifesting.
A slow thing, that's been slowly evolving. And if his emotions have been heightened with his dad's death, and now that things are kind of coming out, and I think he's moody and brooding because he doesn't understand what's going on with him. So I didn't really feel like that was necessarily DNA based. I felt like he was being moody and brooding because he can't do any of the things he loves. His friends are too busy to spend time with him, and he doesn't have anyone he can confide in since his dad's gone.
And he thinks he's alone. He doesn't know about anybody else's powers yet. So,
Right.
Exactly.
So there's still a chance he might be saved. If he reveals to Courtney that he's got these powers, she might reveal to him stuff.
Yeah.
And that could save him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Waiting until season 3 for Cameron to have power issues because you're taking out your villain roster each season is weak. Saying your DNA makes you bad is problematic. I am not crazy over Cameron, and I hate Courtney Cameron as a romance, but this is unfair to him and bad plotting. Oh, see, I like them together. Sylvester continues to be toxic AF, and I am beyond ready for him to go. There should be so much fallout from the grocery store fight, including the staff being seen as a bad thing, until Courtney spends the rest of the season correcting that. But I bet we won't see the fallout, which makes the show fall in quality, because usually it would show consequences.
Okay, she's on to what I was saying. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Yeah. The footage should be all over the news and people banging down the Dugan's door to arrest him, but we don't get that. And again, it brings the show quality down for me and makes me sad. It used to be so good, again, regarding consequences.
Okay. Oh, strong points there for sure.
Yeah. Cameron saying he's been a jerk mostly to Courtney made me laugh so hard because he hasn't spoken to her all year, essentially. He's certainly been a jerk to Rick and all the teachers first and foremost, but not Courtney. Courtney doesn't even really know this guy beyond he's cute, and so their relationship just bores me to no end. Also because it's so cliche as well, with her being a hero and him probably a villain. You have the guy-girl aspect and sensitive bad boy artist with popular cheerleader girl. It's all just so yawn-worthy.
They're not wrong on that.
No. All right. You want me to cheer for Courtney romance writers? Give me someone who makes sense. Together like Courtney and Yolanda. Courtney knows her and has more than 2 minutes on screen with her at least. You still get drama because of Cindy with them, so it's not like you lose drama for the season pairing them instead. I know we're only 3 episodes into the season, but honestly, it has been so disappointing for me so far. I'm seriously debating just skipping it and only watching the last 2 to 3 episodes of the season just to see if anything worthwhile came of it. I say this because the part of the season that had me super hyped, the debates between characters over good, evil, and right, wrong is literally maybe 1% of each episode, and then a solid 90% is stuff I don't care about, Sylvester being a jerk and Cameron being evil because DNA. 5% is Paula and Barbara, which is hilarious, but the other 4% is the slow-moving murder mystery, where I care more about the mystery than the fact the gambler was murdered. I know that's potentially cruel, but it is what it is. He was not some instantly good guy just because he found out he had a daughter. The math ratio just doesn't lean towards me liking this season.
Oh boy.
Sad face. There are good elements, still don't misunderstand me. Meg DeLacy continues to be awesome in the acting department and is easily the one to watch on this series. And again, the Crocks are fun. Mainly Paula and Artemis. Totally feel Paula is a meta, and thusly that's where Artemis gets some of her meta-level abilities from, but they're not enough to overpower the bad that's flooding this season, in my opinion, right now.
Ouch.
Interesting.
Yeah. Definitely, there's
Not
meta
safe.
in this. I mean, Courtney only can fight if she's got the staff, but definitely Tigress and Sportsmaster are got something in them, whether they're enhanced or they're metas themselves. But Icicle for sure is by far meta, and Cameron is meta. Like his powers are growing. There wasn't any science experiment. There wasn't anything happening. They're just born with it. So, yeah.
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 Yeah, and Meg DeLacy, that is Cindy.
Cindy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's playing double duty. Like I said, she's on the Rookie as well every once in a while. So if you like her, I mean, you don't have to watch a whole new show just to catch the 2 minutes of scenes she has in that, but she is there. All right, next up is Comic Geek Kev.
Hey, Legends. So the mystery deepens. Obviously, they want us to believe it's Grundy, but we know that's not the case. Right?
I don't think so.
But I've been thinking of who else it might be in the DC universe. I can think of a couple other tall, strong characters, but not anyone that would really fit in the Stargirl JSA universe. Also, just growls? So, I guess we'll see. It doesn't seem like it's anyone we know.
That's what I keep saying.
Although keeping in mind that Jade and Obsidian are going to join us soon, and that we have an episode called Infinity Inc., if I remember you guys saying correct. Yeah, we have two, part 1 and part 2. Then one of my possibilities is a little more possible, maybe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So you heard some of ours.
Yeah, and other people's thoughts. Well, I want to know who he's thinking. If it's not Grundy, who do you think it is? Because I can't think of any names. You guys drop us some names. That's what we want to know.
The grocery store fight was, I thought, really well done for the most part. Cool stunts, nice effects, just overall well done. But again, with the staff, Sylvester slams it in the ground and it makes a big light show, but it didn't seem to do much to the Crocks. I thought that it would be by the end of the fight, but nope, they popped right back up. Also, was it just me, or did that store seem to have a lot of soft stuff? Seemed like excessive displays of toilet paper, etc. Big sale days, I guess.
And also cheap to make a mess of.
Yeah,
easy to
exactly.
clean up.
Yeah. But once again, I guess that fight and brief appearance by S.T.R.I.P.E. used up the budget, because we're getting nothing of the team besides a little goggle action. The makeup on Sylvester at the end, the bloody face, looked a little off to me.
Was he spitting ketchup out of his mouth? I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited to see what Pat is making for his costume. Will it be an exact replica of the previous Starman suit, or will he maybe take some liberties to make something new?
Oh.
Something to remind Sylvester that yes, he was Starman, but this is his chance to be a new/different Starman. Also, does this mean Pat was the JSA's tailor back in the day? He seemed to know his way around the sewing machine.
And I think you maybe just gave Starman a new name. Liberty. You could just be called Liberty or Captain Liberty or something. That's a good name for a star-spangled type of hero. Liberty.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, he was a star-spangled kid before he was...
He was.
So,
Star-Spangled Man? I don't know. That just sounds ridiculous. Some of the old hero names are so bad. Stripesy, come on.
Yeah. Please continue to give us more Barb and Paula stories. I am loving these two. Paula really seems to want to make more or less non-villain life work. Yeah. Whether she really likes it or is just trying to make sure that they can stay with Artemis, she seems to be committed. The breakfast scene was great, but really, quinoa and tofu? That's not health food. That's straight up punishment. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I like quinoa, actually.
Well, quinoa's
better than rice to me, but anyway.
Yeah. And Paula confronting Tim, I think that was his name. Yeah, it was a nice scene in a scary way. Yeah. She obviously is fond of Barbara and thinks of her as a friend. Although the threats aren't usually great given her former occupation, it's probably all she knows to do to try and help the situation. By the way, the background quote-unquote jump she made in the office, that was not a great effect. Maybe that's why it was blurry.
Okay, see? He's pointing out what I was talking about.
Right.
Now go find the butt slide in the grocery store.
Yeah. After last week's scene between the Crocks, where they made it seem that they killed the gambler, I'm glad they got right to it and cleared it up. Cindy can't seem to make up her mind about what kind of person she wants to be. She stole the laptop, but she's given Beth the clues. She goes to Sylvester and spills the blackmail beans, but she thinks she's doing it, I think, because she believes the Crocks are guilty. Nice to see more Cameron and him connecting even a little with Courtney. I'm really interested in seeing which way they're going to go with him, hero or villain. As much as I don't want to see him be a villain, I don't know if yet another teenage hero in the group makes sense. Yeah. Time and writers will tell. Another fun episode courtesy of the Blue Valley citizenry. I gave this episode 8.8 well-stocked grocery stores. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev.
Yes, good stuff, Kev. Next up is Perry White.
Hey, Cosmic Crew. Perry White here with feedback for Stargirl Season 3, Episode 3, Frenemies, Chapter 3, The Blackmail. Wow. Holy effing wow. I'm giving this episode 10 cleanups on aisle 10 out of 10.
What?
It gave me all the things I needed.
Oh, boy.
First, from Sylvester walking through town on the way to the diner, to the scene in the classroom, to the Rotary Club scene, to the grocery store, Blue Valley is starting to feel like a character of its own and a town with a pulse. When we talk about show budgets, it doesn't always show up in the special effects. Sometimes it shows up in the amount of extras you see in a scene. It gives the show some vibrancy, and it makes it feel like a real community. And I truly dig that. The next thing, man, Sylvester Pemberton, man. Holy cow, man, that's one scary arse dude when he wants to be. I love how that he has sort of been romantically portrayed as this wholesome, all-American hero. But man, he does have some demons. And if those demons are allowed to take over, man, it can produce the kind of menace we saw in his eyes when he walked out of the grocery store ready to kill the Crocks. I legitimately felt danger for them, and I thought he was going to end them, man. And that was just sort of in the way that Joel McHale brought that sort of menace and that anger. And it was just palpable, man. And that's just like a really incredible scene. Not to mention just the action that preceded it, but just the way he was walking out of that grocery store, the look in his eyes, man. I've seen that look in folks' eyes before, and it's usually in the eyes of a villain right before he's about to do something terrible. And it was indeed scary. So kudos to Joel McHale in that scene. By the way, the only person who probably felt scarier than Sylvester in this episode was when Cameron was confronting Rick in the classroom, man. I just think Cameron will be, or could be, a sinister villain anti-hero if that's the route they go. So I guess we'll see. And, oh man, my favorite scene probably of the entire series so far was Pat confronting Sylvester after he came into the house, and when they were talking to the Crocks, man. Just the two of those two together, it was just fantastic to see, and the acting was incredible. And I just love the fact that Pat explained to Sylvester that he needed to be a better person. He needed to be a better hero because Courtney and the new JSA needs him to be better. I just thought that was a fantastic scene, probably one of the better acted scenes that I have seen on this show, and quite honestly, in some of the entire Arrowverse, man. Joel McHale has just brought so much to this show, and we should certainly, at least I am certainly recognizing his impact on the show. He's made everybody better, in my opinion. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, while I'm a much bigger fan of practical action than a lot of wire work, and it's no denying that the grocery store fight was freaking awesome, man. I thought it was well done, well put together, well acted. I thought it was shot well. It was just fantastic, man, from start to finish. Which leads me to a question. Have we talked about, or has the show really sort of established what Crusher's and Paula's power sets are? I mean, are they just sort of like the peak of human conditioning, or do they actually have some level of meta ability that enhances their power and agility? I can't remember if the show has touched upon it. I cannot remember if we, during any of our discussions, have talked about it. But just sort of seeing them hold their own against Starman with the staff and all the jumping that they were doing around and all the leaping that they were doing around the grocery store, it just seems like, I mean, I know that this is quote unquote like a comic book show, but that seemed obviously more than just sort of the peak of human conditioning. I think there's something else at play here as well. So on to another thing that I really liked about this episode, right? I think we've sort of all talked about, or at least some of us have talked about the fact that Courtney has not really stepped up as leader of the JSA. And I'm not saying that in this particular episode she had like this one specific pounding fist on the table sort of leadership moment. But there was the moment when the team was talking about whether they should take down Crusher and Paula. And I think this moment proved why Courtney is sort of the moral and emotional leader of the team, because she was like, she wanted to talk to Crusher and Paula before they obviously ultimately wanted to try to take them down, to make sure that the JSA was right, because the last thing that she wanted to do was to come down on Paula and Crusher to the detriment of Artemis, because she knows how crushing it would be to Artemis if they had to come down and take Paula and Crusher into custody and sort of turn them into the authorities. And they needed to be right, and when I say she, Courtney was correct in making sure that the team had all their ducks in a row before they went off half-cocked. And I thought that was a really good leadership moment, and I applaud Courtney for taking that role on. The other thing in the episode that I really liked is I love the relationship between Paula and Barbara. I'm all about friendships that pass the Bechdel test, and this is certainly one of them. And they balance each other so well. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to lie. There was probably a little bit of a tear that welled up in my eyes a little bit when Barbara showed up at the Rotary Club to support Paula, man. Those little touches, man, those things matter in a show. They're not the biggest of deals, but they just, I mean, they matter to character arcs and character growth, and I'm glad that the show is paying just as much attention to these moments as they do to the incredible action sequences and special effects that we get in the show as well. Speaking of those little moments, I also liked the moment between Sylvester and Yolanda at the coffee shop. And I like that he explained to Yolanda that it's okay to be cautious about things. I wish that he had also, helped her understand that you don't want to be cautious to the detriment that you never trust anyone. But I thought that was a nice little moment, sort of connecting Yolanda's Wildcat to the original Wildcat as well. Because this show is all about sort of legacy, and I really liked that moment that they had. Let's see. One of the last things that I really liked is I sort of liked at the end that we got this little bit of a reveal of who the big bad villain is. And I wish I could say I had a little bit more insight, or at least a little bit more speculation in terms of who I thought it might be. But am I the only one who was sort of getting Gorilla Grodd vibes when we first saw the big hand or the big arm in the corner of the screen as this person or this gorilla was looking at all of the monitors, and then there was that little bit of a sort of a rumbling sound. I just sort of got Gorilla Grodd vibes, and I'm just wondering if I'm the only one. The last thing I wanted to mention is unless Sylvester destroyed every freaking camera that was in the grocery store, and I mean, based on the damage and the carnage that he did, I mean, it's quite possible that he did destroy every camera. But if he didn't, right, someone's going to finally be able to see that video footage and have evidence that there are supers and villains in Blue Valley, and sort of the whole cover of darkness that our heroes and villains have been operating under will finally get brought to the light of day, or at least it should. Anyway, like I said, I just wanted to say that I really, really love this episode. It's been the best by far of this season, in my opinion, and probably been one of the very best of the entire series, man. I just can't say enough good things about it. Anyway, I am interested to hear what other folks have to say about the episode. This is Perry White making another deadline. I'm out.
Well, interesting, Perry, because it sounds like you were thinking a lot of the same things that we all were, and your feelings. A couple points, though, obviously, you and me aren't feeling the same on Joel McHale, so that's cool that you're really enjoying his appearance. And your thought of Gorilla Grodd, the guy in the chair is no way big enough. I mean, that was a very normal-looking hand in a leather glove, so I can't see that being Gorilla Grodd unless... I mean, I don't know why they would bring him in as the monster being under control, because he's been on the Flash enough. So I'm going to say no, I was not thinking Gorilla Grodd. But you never know. Could be wrong. And then... I
don't know.
What was the other? There was another point, but I can't remember. A lot of good thoughts, though.
Yep.
A lot of good thoughts.
Good stuff. Last up we have for tonight is Dad L.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. Dad L here. My thoughts on this week's episode. Well, I think my prediction that Starman is the killer was wrong given what happened towards the end of this episode, but something is still really off with him. There's something deeper going on with him, and I do think it's related to how he was brought back, and whoever's behind it, whether it's Mr. Bones or somebody else. He's just having these kind of uncontrollable fits, and he's just not behaving right. Pat once again has to make clear to him that he is not his sidekick, and then he goes and ends up making Starman a new suit, but I do not think he needs a suit. He is not ready to return to action as a hero with these issues that he's having. One question I did have is the staff. Cosmo seems to go along with Starman's destructive attack in the grocery store. From past episodes, I thought the staff kind of had its own personality, its own sentience, and it would not go along with something like this, but it seems like it has no say in this matter. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to think about. And, something else that's kind of a nitpick, that what's going on in the open with these heroes and villains fighting is getting strange. Where are the police? Why weren't they showing up at the grocery store? What about the surveillance video that would clearly show this Sylvester and the Crocks? And just a little need a dose of consequences here, or some kind of explanation. The Crocks, speaking of them, they are such a good addition to the season. The exploration of the dynamics between them and our heroes is very interesting. It's very entertaining. I'm so glad that they're here, and again, they're bringing Barbara a nice story as well too. My rating for this episode is 8.5 cleanups on aisle 5. Dad L, last father of Krypton.
Seems like everybody's on board with the whole idea of like, where the heck is the town? What's going on here? And that was the point I had mentioned with Carrie. Carrie's like, oh, I love this town. Everybody's just like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing, Carrie? There's nobody there. I don't know. But yeah, everybody seems to be picking up on that they're all getting away with stuff pretty easily, it seems.
Yep.
Good stuff, everybody. No Dreamweaver this week. She must be busy. But at least we mentioned her name. There you go. That's it for feedback, guys. If you would like to become part of the show, and we know there's a few new people out there, we've been accepting a few new ones, so just send in some feedback because we'd love to hear your voice. Email or voicemail is always best, and this is what you have to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Well, Harley, you were right. At the top of the show, before we hit the record button, she says, wow, we got a lot of notes. This is going to be a big show. And we have surpassed the 2-hour mark, so she was right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I was right, as I was nodding off.
If she suddenly becomes unresponsive, it's because she's sleeping on her microphone.
Yes.
Because it's, 11:42 for you guys right now.
Yeah. Yep.
9:42 for me. So what's coming up next week? What's Chapter 4 called?
The Evidence.
Dun, dun, dun.
What could that possibly mean? Yeah. Evidence. Cool. Well, there you go. Stargirl next week. No, there's no breaks coming up yet, eh? We haven't discovered any breaks yet for Stargirl?
Not that I know of.
I don't think so. Not yet, anyway.
Yep.
Well, that's good. I'm not going to get any breaks starting soon because Star Wars Andor begins in a few days. Wednesday next week, to be exact. And they're starting with a 3-episode premiere. That's insane.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So me and Vizsla are going to be busy next weekend talking about those 3 episodes. And then something new got announced. It's called Tales of the Jedi. It's a new animated series. I think it's a 6-part short film event that's coming out, and that's all about Ahsoka and Count Dooku and just a bunch of little short stories, going way back in the day to show some of their origins, which I just think looks amazing. So that comes in October. And I got an announcement to make. I don't know how many of you have ever listened to my Cybercast episode or podcast. I haven't done a lot on it lately. I just haven't had time. It's the one that always gets put on the back burner. But I've been brainstorming lately, and I've got a new episode coming out that I'm going to need your help with, guys. I'm actually going to take feedback for Cybercast. I've never done that before. I'm going to do an episode all about pet peeves. And I want all of you that are listening to Cybercast to send me feedback to cybercastfan@gmail.com. I want you to send me your top, 1 to 3 pet peeves, the thing that just ticks you off the most. And it can be about anything. I'm going to talk about other drivers on the road. I'm going to talk about cooking habits. I'm going to talk about, people at malls or whatever. I'm making a list of all of them, and I think it's just going to be a fun episode to just rant and rave about all the idiots that are out there. or the things that piss you off. As an example, you stub your toe on something that you clearly were trying to get around and you still stub your toe. That's a pet peeve. So anything like that. Send me your ideas and I'll start responding to them. I'll read them all. We're going to have fun. So cybercastfan@gmail.com, and we'll get another episode of Cybercast out there because it's been a while. A long while. I've also got another one that I'm working on is some movie reviews. I've been way behind on my movie reviews, and I've missed out on a lot of the 2019, 2020, and 21 movies doing reviews on them. I've only done one here and there, so what I'm going to go do is go back and do a complete collection of 2019 and 20 and 21 of movies that I did not get a review out for. I'm going to do one massive episode for each year, so it'll be like covering 15 movies in one episode. And I'm not going to do the full it's not going to be full on 10-minute reviews like I've been doing. It'll be like 2 minutes per movie. I'm just going to give it quick rundowns. Is it worth seeing or not? Whatever. And yeah, so that's what's coming. I am working on stuff. It's just been stale. Cybercast needs to get revitalized. So send me your pet peeves, and But back to the DC universe. Stargirl coming up next week, and what was dive into DC? They're doing the Justice League at War. I think they're covering the next animated movie that was just out.
Right, and it's Justice Society War II. So it's a very good one. I left my feedback, but it has some of our Golden Age, heroes from JSA and some from the regular Justice League.
Right.
So it's a neat take on things. So yeah, that's next week.
Cool. So there you go. And DC does really good with their animated movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really good. I haven't watched. There's quite a few that I haven't watched. I know they release like a new Batman one every 3 months. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many Batman animated movies. I can't keep up with those ones. But I like when they do the Justice League, the full ensemble. Those are the good ones. Lots of stuff. All right, well, that is all we got, guys, for this week. Our longest Stargirl episode yet. There you go. Everyone have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week. This is The Flash signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.